For a long moment, we simply stood there in the quiet park. Neither of us had expected this. 3 years ago, I had helped a stranger without thinking twice about it. I paid for her coffee, said a few encouraging words, and walked away believing I would never see her again. To me, it had been a small moment. But to Emily it had been something much bigger. That day, she said softly, I was ready to give up on everything. She explained how that simple conversation gave her the courage to keep trying. Within months she found a new job, a small apartment, and slowly rebuilt her life. And ever since then, she continued, I promised myself that if a stranger could help me like that, I would do the same for others whenever I could. Suddenly everything made sense. The way she helped people. The quiet kindness. The way she noticed small things most people ignored. It all started with a moment I barely remembered. I smiled, still amazed at the strange path life had taken. So technically, I joked, this blind date took 3 years to happen. Emily laughed, the kind of laugh that makes everything around it feel lighter. Looks like it was worth the wait. As the sun disappeared behind the buildings, we walked toward the park exit together. And in that moment, I realized something important. Kindness is never wasted. Sometimes it travels in quiet circles through the world, until one day it finds its way back to you in the most unexpected way. And sometimes, it brings someone extraordinary into your life forever. Jake kept shaking his head like he couldn't believe what was happening. Mom, please tell me you're joking. He groaned. Lisa leaned against the counter, completely calm. Relax, Jake. It's just dinner. Then she looked back at me. Unless you're too scared. Now I really didn't know what to say. Part of me felt like I had stepped into the most awkward situation of my life. But another part of me was strangely curious. Lisa wasn't just attractive, she had this quiet confidence about her. The kind that made people listen when she spoke. Okay, dinner, I said cautiously. Jake pointed at me like I had just committed a crime. You're seriously agreeing to this? Lisa laughed softly. It's not a wedding, Jake. It's pasta. The next evening, I picked her up for dinner. The entire drive to the restaurant, I kept thinking about how weird this situation was. I had known Jake for years. Now I was taking his mom out. But once we sat down, something unexpected happened. The awkwardness disappeared. Lisa wasn't flirting or trying to impress me. Instead, she asked thoughtful questions about my life, my job, my goals, even my family. It felt real. At one point she smiled and said, You know, most people spend dates trying to look interesting. I'd rather just understand people. And for the first time in months, I felt like someone was actually listening to me. By the end of dinner, I realized something surprising. This wasn't a joke anymore. And Lisa clearly had a reason for saying yes to that date. I just didn't know what it was yet. Dinner with Emily was supposed to last an hour. Somehow, 3 hours passed without either of us noticing. Our conversation flowed easily, about work, childhood memories, favorite books, and the strange ways life sometimes surprises us. But what stood out most wasn't what she said. It was how she listened. She gave people her full attention, like their words actually mattered. As we were about to leave the cafe, something unexpected happened. Near the entrance, a middle-aged man was arguing quietly with the cashier. His credit card had been declined, and he looked embarrassed. A young girl, probably his daughter, stood beside him holding a small birthday cupcake. Emily noticed immediately. Without making a scene, she walked over to the counter and gently placed her card down. Please add their bill to mine, she whispered to the cashier. The man started to protest, but Emily just smiled. Every kid deserves a birthday cupcake, she said warmly. The little girl's face lit up like someone had turned on a light inside her. I watched the whole thing quietly, unsure what to say. Back at the door, I finally asked, Do you do things like that often? Emily shrugged slightly, almost like it was no big deal. Kindness spreads, she said. Sometimes people just need someone to start it. Her words stayed with me as we stepped outside into the cool evening air, Before we said goodbye, she looked at me with a curious smile. "You know," she said, "I almost canceled tonight too." I laughed in surprise. "Really? Why?" She hesitated for a second before answering. "Because the last time I trusted someone I didn't know, it changed my life forever." I wasn't sure what she meant, but something about the way she said it told me there was a story behind it, one I hadn't heard yet. A week later, Emily and I met again. This time it wasn't a blind date. It felt more like two old friends catching up. We decided to walk through a small city park just before sunset. Children were playing near the fountain, joggers passed by, and the air carried the calm rhythm of an ordinary evening. But Emily seemed thoughtful, quieter than usual. Finally she spoke. "Remember when I said someone once helped me when I needed it most?" I nodded. She took a slow breath before continuing. 3 years ago, I was having the worst day of my life. I had just lost my job, my apartment lease had ended, and I didn't know where I was going next. She looked down at the path as we walked. I sat alone at a cafe for hours trying to figure out what to do. I barely had enough money for a coffee. I listened carefully, realizing how serious her tone had become. Then she smiled faintly. And then a stranger walked in. According to Emily, the cafe had been crowded that day. The stranger noticed she looked upset and asked if the seat across from her was taken. They started talking. It was nothing dramatic, just a simple conversation between two strangers. But before leaving, the stranger did something she never expected. "He paid for my meal," Emily said softly. "And before he left, he told me something I've never forgotten." I felt curious. "What did he say?" Emily stopped walking and looked directly at me. "He said, 'Life can turn around faster than you think. Don't give up today.'" For a moment neither of us spoke. Then she added quietly, almost to herself, "That small kindness changed the way I see the world."